Hey, everybody. Welcome to House Calls, the podcast with my favorite co-host, Matt Waldron.
Thank you, Ty. You're my favorite co-host as well. I'm
So
so glad that worked out.
people are always asking, what's our summer challenge?
Yep.
And this year, our summer challenge is a celebration of America. So we just
Perfect
want you
time.
to celebrate America. That's all you got to do for the 250th anniversary.
Yeah. I love it. How are you going to do that? And what are some of your ideas for this challenge?
Well, on Instagram, we are following great underscore America underscore adventure is my son and a bunch of his friends traveling across country and showing great sights of America.
Right.
We had a survey yesterday where we asked people like what was their favorite place in America. We've already had like 1,000 responses. So far, Jackson Hole, Wyoming is in first place with a couple
Okay.
hundred. Second place is Milford Mill Water Park
Interesting.
with a couple hundred. And then third place is 13th Street on Ocean City, the Safari Hotel.
Wow. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I think those will all hold up. And nothing about Memorial Stadium, but I guess that's
Oh,
okay.
yeah, no. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Somebody wrote Section 34, and I didn't realize what that meant, and now I remember.
Yeah,
It's the
there you
Wild
go.
Bill Hagee fan club.
R.I.P.
So today we are interviewing a special group of guys.
Yep.
Who 35 years ago went on a 8 to 9 week adventure across the country called Operation Rolling Thunder.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get the behind the scenes of it. And you were a part of that. I was not. Chuck Baldecki and I both passed on the opportunity for a variety of reasons. Most of them were mature decisions on our part because thinking we needed help in the future. And
You were working on yourself. Chuck went
no,
with
no.
with his real friends to Avalon.
I know.
and he regrets it to this day. Like, I bet you he never sees those guys besides at reunions. And now he comes back every summer for 35 years and doesn't, has to listen to us talk about our trip.
Yeah, no, we all do. We all do.
But our viewers know everybody most of the people who are on the trip. So we have Pickleball Pioneer, Brian Klepper. We have Squirrelbox founder, Phil McIntyre.
Right.
We have the late Eric Smith, who is a better athlete than Deion Sanders' cousin Junebug.
Right.
So we've talked about him several times. And we're doing an introduction of Philip Kyle, who nobody has seen on the podcast. So if he logs on, we'll meet him also.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to meet him, hear his story, because he's also my brother-in-law. So I'm really excited to meet him. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be trying to herd cats. And we've decided that I'm going to run point on this and you're going to have to shut up and just answer my questions. I'll tell the guys this as well, that I'm going to run this like a presidential debate and and cut it off your microphones and say you have 30 seconds to respond. It's a reunion show because they literally left on June 11th. 1991. This is 35 years later.
What was going on in 1991?
Oh, I've got all that.
Okay.
We were just coming out of the Persian Gulf.
Okay.
There's stuff like that.
Gulf.
What's that?
The first Persian Gulf.
First one. Thank you.
Is this? Yeah.
What are you doing with a straw, dude? Dude, what are you doing?
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Tech issue. You got a pin like sitting right in front of your face. If I touch that, is this going to blow this whole podcast apart?
A pin?
If I try to, it's a pin. Like it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's on my computer. It's the shape of a pin, like a corkboard
But
pin.
you move your mouse.
Oh, thank you, Matt. You didn't even need to call Mitch Hug.
How in the hell you were able to drive across the country and make it back? All right, this is it. This is what the people have been looking for. 35 years later, the reunion of Operation Rolling Thunder. What a treat. I'm your host, Andy Cohen, for the reunion show today. Ty has no idea what that means. Boys, welcome. This is great. Happy to have everybody here. So what I'm really happy about is that I get to run point and Ty is not allowed to interrupt or pretend like he has any idea what's going on. But What we're here to talk about is we're kicking off our summer challenge, and in honor of the 250th anniversary of America, we thought it'd be good to talk to guys that have driven across the country and really what makes the US of A so special to them. And this coinciding with the 35th anniversary was just a perfect opportunity to get us all together and talk about it. So here we go. Everybody
We've never
ready?
done that in the
Let's do
past
it.
35 years.
All right. So the year was 1991, June 11th, long time ago. Okay. Where was everybody? Where were you? Where were you? What were you doing? Phil McIntyre, you're coming out of your what, sophomore year at Denison?
Sophomore year, yeah.
Okay. And what were your hopes and dreams of for yourself at that time?
I think the fellas, you will remember that we had a little bit of a rocky start with me. I had food poisoning.
Yeah, you were
You
were
trying to
sick,
lose some
right?
weight. Yeah, so yeah, I was on I was on one of those vision quests at the Princeton reunions, and was searching for something to eat around 2 or 3 in the morning, and I thought these bags of subs were a good source of nutrition that were sitting in the sun all week. So yeah, it knocked me out pretty good. I was laid up on an IV, and the cars were packed. You guys were ready to go, and I just said, "I'll meet you in Texas."
Before we go, it was the four of you plus Eric Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. So whose idea was it? And what was the genesis of the idea?
It was Thanksgiving of 1990. Phil and I were going to do a college tour. So Phil came up from Virginia Tech to W&L, and then we drove to UVA. And in Brian's room in his fraternity, we might have even called Eric and said, we're going to drive to California and get jobs for the summer. And then after that, we drove to Cornell and saw Eric, and then down
Oh, we stopped. We saw Matt.
I thought we saw Matt after Eric because the Roy Rogers was our last thing.
That's
Now
right.
it's Berg's last thing
That's
coming
right.
home. And
That's
we
right.
do have to mention when the guy was at Matt's school was on the top bunk and all the people were diving into the crowd. And
Nobody
Matt goes,
caught him.
look, nobody's going to catch this guy. And like Matt was like Nostradamus. This guy dives off and the crowd separates
Everyone
and
walked away.
plants onto the floor.
Classic. Thank you.
But that's when it started.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the five of you. We're going to drive across the country. How are you going to do it? Like, was everyone cramming into one car? Whose vehicles? What were they? The Bear was a wagon.
Why?
Yeah, the Bear was the
wood paneled.
Wood paneled.
I mean, it was a Chevy Caprice Classic.
Yeah, it was.
probably,
All right. Caprice Classic. Then we had Ty's Cherokee,
The Cherokee
General-
was a
Cherokee
1986,
Chief.
and I
Yeah.
took it to the mechanic and got it all like ready to go cross country. And
Unlike Phil. Unlike
yeah,
Phil with the
and
Yeah,
Bear.
we
Phil
needed
just
the,
thought his 15-year-old
cigarette.
station wagon would be fine driving hundreds of miles a day.
So it's 91. It's now, you guys are ready to go. Did you guys know how much a gallon of gas was? I've done a lot of research at that
well,
time.
Hit us.
No.
What was it?
On average,
Our parents did.
$1.14.
Wow.
$1.14.
$1.14.
Okay.
All right.
So that means in Texas, it was like 50 cents.
Exactly. Exactly. So, all right. So we leave from Sherwood Forest at 21405. And where are we headed? Where are we going first?
Southwest Virginia.
Southwest. All right. So, Phil, Kyle, that's Southwest. That's your old stomping grounds. Are you guys going through Blacksburg?
We went past Blacksburg to,
Okay.
I think it was the Jefferson National Forest.
All right.
Maybe? Something like that.
I remember it rained and we all got wet our first
Yeah.
night in our tents, or at
Yeah.
least Ann and I got wet.
No, yeah, exactly. We had a great night. We set up the tents. We're camping. This is awesome. We go to bed, and I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, wake up, and there's like water coming in the tent. And
Whoa. Wait a minute. Ty, you were with someone else in a tent?
I was with Ann in the tent until you joined us in Texas and Ann took off to Europe.
Wait a second. Wait, were you and Ann married at the time?
We'd been married and had 4 kids.
Okay,
So
okay.
Roddy
All right.
had just been born.
All right, because that's a little weird. But this is going to be awkward. But none of you guys are really known outdoorsmen. Okay,
What do you
so
mean?
who
where's
really
that coming
was-
from? Where? Hold on, time
How
out. Where?
so?
Don't project. I mean,
Well, Phil
I'm just saying
knows
what the
this.
research is telling
Let's
me.
let Phil tell this story about how we became outdoorsmen
Yes.
before we traveled and who gets the credit for teaching us.
Doug gets credit for
Doug.
taking us. Doug
Ty's,
Hudebert.
yep,
Ty's
Ty's
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law.
I don't know, it was a couple summers before, maybe.
Probably
We went
one
up.
or yeah.
We went up to
Deep Creek Lake.
Western Maryland up there, the Savage River, I think, and
Yep.
camped for 2 or 3 nights and fished and
And
lived off
that's
the
it.
land.
And
So
that was it. So 2 or 3 nights. Okay, that's all you needed. And now you guys are ready to go. So Klepp, you were
Yeah.
coming out of your junior year in
Junior, just
UVA.
finished junior year at UVA. Yeah.
All right. Did you know your future wife at that time?
I did not. No, we did not
Okay.
meet until much later.
All right.
Several years
This
later.
is Matt. He's starting the picking.
No. I'm just trying to get background. I'm just trying to put it all together. This is the origin story and all right.
In regards to Ty's future wife, I'd say that helped determine the initial leg of the trip because, as Ty said, we had 3 cars, one of which was Ann's, and we had to get Ann back to Dallas
Okay.
because she was going traveling or something with one of her girlfriends. I think
She was going with her boyfriend to Europe for the summer, is my understanding at the time.
Right.
and her family was kind enough to host us on that first, major
Yeah.
stay.
And
That
then
was
they
pretty
didn't
sweet.
want to see any of us for 5 more years after that. I don't know
Right.
what happened down there.
And the funny story there was that when Red had to connect with us, we met him at the airport in Dallas. We had an amazing time in Dallas, but he called late at night. We were already asleep. And on the phone, he said, "This is Red calling." And my father-in-law wrote a message. Red Cohen said he'll meet you. He's on this flight. He'll meet you at DFW or Love Field, whatever it was.
Yeah,
and so we've always called him Red Cohen ever since.
Yeah.
What was your first memory? What do you think about this time in your life, Ty?
Well, the first thing was that we were planning on camping or staying with people we knew every single night,
Right.
never staying in a hotel. And in Tennessee, we had a torrential downpour so bad that we had to stay in a Motel 6. And we were all in the same room watching Magic Johnson versus Michael Jordan in the finals of the NBA finals. We were all stuck in a room together.
it was night 2 of the trip. It was night 2 of the trip.
Right. Tough start.
And I literally think I might have slept like in the middle of the bed, and Ann was on one side and Eric was on the other side. And Red was, if Red had been there, he'd been rolled up at the bottom of the bed.
Oh my God.
Those aren't pillows.
Those aren't pillows. And how in the heck? I mean, I can't believe Ann is still around. That is the thing that I'll never understand. Was there anything you guys were looking to, like a theme, like, hey, we want to go to all the national parks. This is everything we wanted to do? Because the crazy thing is no smartphones, no GPS, right? If you guys, I think you guys had like a AAA triptych or something, or
We just had a big
Phil Kyle
map
was
of the
our map
US.
host.
Yeah.
I was a navigator. We just wanted to camp. But like Ty
Shout
said,
out to Rand McNally.
we wanted to be in the wilderness, and we were getting to Dallas and then San Diego. That was
right. Those are
kind
the
of
spots.
And then it was, where can we go in between getting there? And we kind of figured it out a lot day by day. And
yeah, I don't remember it being like we got to hit all the national parks kind of trip initially. But in retrospect, looking at a map and where we went, it's like, man, we could have hit. There were a lot more that were close, probably, that we could have gone to if that was the goal. But we had just a Let's Go USA guidebook.
And when we got lost, we didn't
stuff
care.
to do.
Like if we got lost for the day, we didn't care. Like we had no destinations besides getting Ann to her airplane.
Right. So after that, it was just kind of like, hey, let's get there when we get there. This wasn't Smokey and the Bandit. This wasn't Cannonball Run. You guys were just going across
no race.
This was quintessential freestyle.
Do you remember like what you thought? I don't think any of you off the top of my head have really ever driven that like that before, really seen everything. You guys are East Coast guys that as you started heading south, heading out to Midwest and such, what was the first thing you thought of that was different than home?
Well, there was this thing called Buc-ee's. They spelled Wawa really weird.
We never went to Buc-ee's. There was no Buc-ee's.
I don't know if Buc-ee's existed.
Drug.
Wall drug, true.
I mean, one of the first places we went was Graceland, which was pretty over the top. But then, I mean, just from a topography, I think after we left Dallas, for me, like West
Yeah.
Texas was
Yeah.
like,
I thought the
we're
Mesquite
camping here
Rodeo,
in the desert with scorpions and like, what are we doing here?
the Mesquite Rodeo and the Rangers games are like seeing Nolan Ryan
Yes.
pitch, and what was it, his 3,000th strikeout, and
Yeah.
it was so fun. The Mesquite Rodeo, the Veranda Club,
That was
like
neat.
the Veranda Club was total luxury, where it was like a gym that we basically stayed all day, 2 days in a row. The Mesquite Rodeo, and then the guy at the Rangers game who tackled Eric Dickerson in high school.
He
you remember
forced
that?
a fumble. He
Yes,
forced a
he
fumble
forced a
on
fumble. Yeah.
Eric Dickerson.
And then didn't we hit a restaurant where there was they cut your ties off? Wasn't
Trail
that?
dust. Trail dust. Yeah.
You guys walked in wearing ties?
If you wear a tie, they cut it off. So you're
Got
supposed
it.
to wear a tie when
Right.
you go there. I don't
Got
think
it.
we wore ties.
Got
But
it.
We had a tie.
So I
So,
think
but
that was the last meal that we had with Ann before we set off.
Yeah. But our first epic, like natural wonder was Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. Like everything else was lakes and parks that were cool, but not that much different from Maryland until we
Right.
got to West Texas.
and so talk about that. What was so cool about West Texas? Or the caverns?
I don't know that West Texas by itself was cool. It was just like, whoa, we've left
Yeah.
we've left the East Coast here. We're not in this big city anymore. It got much cooler as you got further west, like Carlsbad and then into Grand Canyon.
Brian, tell us about
So
Carlsbad Caverns. Like that was wild.
that was wild. I mean, I just had to reread my journal yesterday to see, like, because it was much more descriptive in there than what I remember. I don't remember going down 83 floors,
Yeah.
but like, I guess you hike down 83 floors deep, and it's just incredible. And you've got these like football field sized caverns that are underground. And then we came back at night for the escape of the bats. Like all these bats come out at night to hunt mosquitoes and at twilight. And it was just incredible. I mean, that was a good starting kind of like, we're into the nature here.
Right.
And
For me,
mentioned
at
a
least.
good thing, Brian. We had to keep journals.
Yeah.
Did
Oh,
everybody?
yeah,
you guys all have yours
are
still?
stickered up.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
do
yeah.
have mine somewhere here.
So we're all in our 50s, and we have to kind of
Ty?
revert back to
Here's mine. My little marble.
I
Our
have my
marble
journal.
journal.
It's in my box of memories, but it's all up here. I thought I remembered everything until
Wow.
I forgot about the release of the bats, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have brought my journal down.
Look, that's how often have you flipped through those? You guys.
My first time in probably 35 years
Yeah,
was this
right.
weekend.
Right.
nightly.
So a couple years after you guys, I did the reverse by myself, where I drove from Phoenix back to Boston, where my parents were, and I stopped and saw Eric in Little Manhattan, the Little Apple there. But I noticed, and I would hit AA meetings across the way, and I noticed that people out west were like, hey, don't drink, it's okay, and like hugs and softer and nicer. And as I got closer to New England, by the end, they were like, tough shit, don't drink. Right. So it was just it was almost like the weather, like as opposite. Did you guys notice that people and strangers you were meeting were nicer and friendlier or different from the East Coast as you went west?
I think people were very nice. I mean, like some of this just reading my journal is like, oh, we were talking to these people and they were from wherever and they were doing whatever. So like, I think we just were talking to people wherever we went. We were talking
Right.
to people and
And
people were pretty
Where
friendly.
we were was mostly other travelers too. So they were
Correct.
all kind of experiencing what as opposed to just going to the mall. I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have approached some random
Although,
guy, but
we were definitely mixing it up with other tourists, right? So everyone was kind of
oh yeah.
out of their comfort zone. But when we would go into certain towns, we would get the local color and, like Billy the Kid's grave dude, right? That the authentic, who's living in these environments. So that
We also, first of all, people who didn't really know us very well, but we had a connection to, were open their homes to us so we can tell those stories. But we also would go in the big towns, we would go to colleges, to fraternity houses, and we would just say, hey, we're all the betas from wherever. And they would host us, and we're super nice. And it would be interesting to know like what one person they remember the most. And I remember Brad at University of California,
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. He was super into lacrosse. He was super friendly, but he was huge. And he was like super friendly, but we also thought maybe he could beat us all up by himself. And so we're lying to him saying that we're all betas from the same college. But
That
then we
was
go out at night
interesting.
and we're all wearing different college shirts. And he was like, "Hey, what's going on? Why is everybody wearing different college shirts?" And we felt like we just didn't want to get on his wrong side. And we were like, "Oh no, this is just what you do in the East Coast. You trade sweatshirts and you get other sweatshirts kind of thing."
We
But
stayed with him for like 4 nights, I think.
yeah,
We were there for
4
nights.
It
nights.
was interesting as
And
we were all in for individual fraternities, different ones. We chose Beta Theta Pi, and then sort of had to get like inducted by tie, like who were the founding fathers. So we were all on script. So it was quite fun a ruse that we.
I did have I was reading my journal, and you remember the dog Knox in
I
Santa
Yeah.
do.
Barbara?
You pulled that off.
And he they said, no, don't worry. It was he's part pit bull and part lab. And one of the guys said, "Oh, don't worry, he only attacks beta imposters."
I think they knew. Like
I think in my journal,
we were
like
just,
by the third or
as
fourth
I would
day, we were
say,
like,
we
"All
were
right,
just too cool not to like. So
we got to
I
get." I think
remember it
one of the
though.
guys, one of the guys was on to us, but they put on their or maybe it was in San Diego. They put on their little ticker, "Welcome betas from Washington Lee University."
Right.
Oh my
I
God.
remember him saying the dog's name was Knox, and I want to give Phil Kyle credit. I think he was like, "Oh, you mean like Henry Thomas Knox, the founder?" Because he
Wow.
remembered that from
Yeah.
Ty's little tutorial, and I think that greased the skids. They
Well,
thought we were
and
legit.
the
We were
other
all
thing
betas.
was, I think at both colleges, the people we stayed with were club lacrosse players. Like they were so into lacrosse. And so Eric was playing at Cornell, and Red
No,
and
he's playing at
I,
WNL, Ty.
yeah,
He's
Red and
playing
I
at
played at
WNL.
WNL and Denison, but they were so into like the lacrosse thing. They had a lot of questions about lacrosse. And what I think now, when I look back, is just that those schools have been playing lacrosse, club lacrosse for a long time. Just it reminds me that it's been 35 years and they were super into it.
But how funny is it today? If you try to pull that off, they would just go on social media, just gone
Yeah,
online and said, "Wait a second,
right.
wait a second,
Yeah.
that doesn't
Well,
look
she
like
said
you."
no social media, no cell phone, pre-internet. Like
We-
we had 2 cars, and
CB
not that
radios.
everyone needs.
CBs.
Yeah, that was my
CBs,
next
like,
question. So you guys had the CB, right, between the Chief and the Bear.
What was our game
Um,
plan if we got lost? Because CBs went out of range, so we were gonna.
That happened.
Uh,
I read it. So it was called Judy, called Mrs. Smith, and
okay.
we lost when the bear broke down in San Fran at the Golden Gate Bridge. Ty, you and I were in the Chief, and we'd gone to the other side, and then we realized they weren't behind us, so we like stopped and waited for a while, and then we were like, "Oh, we got to call Judy," and I guess Eric had already called, and the bear was broken down on the other side.
That's an
of
unfair
the Golden
shot.
Gate
Listen,
Bridge.
the bear.
I'm just talking about
I heard the bear
our-
fell in love in San Francisco and didn't want to leave. As we said, no cell phones. So how often were you communicating back east, like home, like weekly, like pay phones, like what were you doing?
a lot of postcards. I didn't
Postcards?
realize how many. My parents and my brothers had like saved the postcards that I sent. They
Your
were in my
brothers
journal.
say, is that the only time you've talked to your brothers?
It's very. We have our way, Matt. We have our
I'd
way.
say,
But
like
there was a half dozen postcards, or maybe 7 or 8
We
postcards.
called Edge
maybe
Hill
a call
on.
home, Matt. Like
We called Edge
Right.
Hill on the 3rd of July when they
July.
had the firework party.
Right.
Because I remember everybody talked to Stacy and Peter and maybe their parents who were at the party. But I definitely remember talking to like Stacy and Peter, Eric's siblings.
Right.
And then I remember from an AM PM, which is kind of like Wawa, the day Anne left for Europe. I remember calling her, and there's like there's a video of me where I'm a little choked up, crying into my root beer, eating my burger, Red mocking me.
Red was there to console you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, all right, lifelong friends. Everyone has known each other. Was Ty then drinking out of a straw? Is that only come in later years? What's with the straw, dude? You got to lose that, man. Man up.
Egger.
What? That's a good
Oh,
point. He
God.
was always drinking out of a straw.
Does it have a
Yeah.
handle? Ty, does it have
No,
a handle?
it
Okay,
Yeah,
no
doesn't.
handle.
It
That's,
doesn't have
that's
a
a little
handle.
better. Yeah,
he
a little
only
better.
uses the handle when he walks
Yeah.
with his weighted
Yeah.
vest. But what did you learn about each other?
I learned that redheads smell worse than other people in that. No, it's true. This is true.
Jesus.
As a doctor now, I know it's true, is that redheads have different genetics. They're known to have lower pain thresholds, but red has a high pain threshold, and they have a different body odor than the rest of us. So we went, what was it, 3 weeks without showers, and red smelt worse than the rest of us. I don't know if
Oh
it
my-
was somewhat genetic that
Wow.
maybe, because I was in the car a lot with Eric during that time, and maybe genetically we had the same body odor, so I didn't care. But I remember being like, oh, red.
Well, the mosquitoes were like, they love gamers. But yeah, the
Wow.
But how long did we go without a shower?
It was
Like
like
not more
5
than
or
a
6
couple
days.
days.
No,
Yeah.
I think we went like 5 days once.
we had showers at the Grand Canyon after we had
Yeah.
mostly been just kind of like jumping into mountain streams and mountain rivers.
Yeah,
We
Well,
had an
didn't we have
epic.
a
Where was
bucket?
the epic one where we went down the rock slide? Do you remember
that
that?
was Yosemite.
Oh yeah,
I
that
was in
incredible.
Yosemite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. I think now, 35 years later, as adults, we are all much more, some more than others are more morning people. And I was thinking about this because I've always been a morning person. I'm pretty sure Eric would have killed me if we had stayed. I was pretty active in the morning. It took him a little while to kind of get going at the time. So if I was up in the morning,
In
hey,
reading
dog,
my
hey, dog, what's
journal,
going on?
Matt,
Yeah, wait,
there
what's
was
going
a
on?
lot. I was surprised because I'm very much a morning person.
Yeah,
now,
True
but
or false?
I was
mean,
surprised how many times I was like, yeah, we got going around 10 or 11 a.m., like late.
Yeah.
Some of these were
Right.
late starts.
Well, we
Well,
were.
we stayed up late. Like we were up till like 1 and
Yeah.
3, and I several times we were finding a campsite at like 11 o'clock at night
In the dark.
in the
Right.
dark,
Yeah, exactly.
And then had to
Drive-
set up camp.
and then set up camp and
Right.
And we
Maybe.
camped in some really weird locations. Like we camped on the
On top of wood
shoulder.
piles
We
and
parked
bale-
the car on the shoulder of the highway leading into Mount Rushmore and slept on the asphalt. And then I remember a couple times we were like more in state parks driving down these dirt roads, and we're just like, there's no openings in these parks, and we would just park the cars in a way that we would sleep in between the cars.
Real safe.
So yeah,
Yeah, we didn't
When
do a lot of planning from a standpoint of reservations with the national parks and stuff like that. So
But I mean, honestly, you guys didn't do much planning at all.
Zero.
no.
yeah,
it was
could have been
pretty
a
much
different
day to
trip, but
day.
it was very
Right. Which
day
is
by
great,
day.
right? How freeing was that? I
Yeah.
mean, you look back, you're like, you probably didn't, you guys were all 21, 22. Red was 17.
20.
Got his ID taken early in the trip.
Yeah.
To rewind a little bit
Yes.
about like the decisions on where we decided to sleep, because sometimes, you don't have a decision. You're just left to deal with the wood pile that I had to sleep on top of in Vale out on the porch. Bugs.
Yeah. Right.
Red, I was
Anyway,
right
what
next
is-
to you on that wood pile. Remember, I was
What's
with
that?
you on the wood pile.
Was that when we?
yes, Ty
when
and
we
I
stayed-
were outside, and I don't know, where were you guys?
I raised my. I think we were inside. Me and Brian and
Eric.
And Eric.
So we had met, we were at the Red Line Bar in Vail. The idea was Ann and I were moving to Colorado the next year. So I thought we were just driving to Vail and I'd go to a real estate place and be like, hey, I need an apartment. That didn't work. We ended up staying in employee housing. But I thought that I was like, we were there on a mission, and we went to the Red Lion Bar in Vail. And we were singing, and it was all these sing-alongs, like John Denver songs, Jimmy Buffett songs, whatever. And then when the band stopped playing, we kept singing, and these girls came up to us and started thinking that we took requests, but they were talking like pop songs, like, hey, do you know Madonna or whatever? So they ended up letting us stay in their apartment one night, and Red and I did not, we had to sleep outside on the wood chips. But the next night, we actually slept on the ski slopes,
On the
just
mountain.
on the
we
steep hill.
left the mountain or left the bar and just walked.
Just
We
walked
got
just
our
off.
walked
sleeping
up the
bags
hill
and
in the
walked up
dark.
the hill in the dark.
So that was something else I was thinking about. At that time, do you know the most popular songs of the summer of 1991? pop songs?
I can
David
tell you
Allen
what we
Coe,
listen
Please
to a
Come to
lot.
Boston.
Preppy redneck,
Yeah.
No,
Golden
Def
Jesus.
Leppard.
I know because I think it was one of Eric's favorite, "Rush Rush" by Paul Abdul, and then "Everything I Do for You,
True.
I Do It for You" by Bryan Adams.
Brian Adams,
Well,
sure.
we did see. Did we see Robin Hood? Because that was the
We
theme
did.
song of Robin
We
Hood. Did we
did.
see it on the
Watched
road?
Robin.
And we saw
saw it in
Terminator,
in
Terminator
LA.
2
We
on the
saw it in
road.
Hollywood.
And then
Yeah.
the other. So actually, not a bad summer for movies, right? The most popular movies were Terminator 2,
We
Robin
saw
Hood,
that.
Prince of Thieves,
We
Thelma
saw
and
that.
Louise.
We did not see that.
Sure,
We were
yes,
living that.
uh-huh.
We were driving
Point
across
Break,
country.
and then the other story of your youth,
Point
Boys
Break.
in the Hood.
Oh yeah. Where did we stay in LA? Did we stay at UCLA?
We stayed at
We
the
did.
ATO house.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because Eric had a
Yeah.
friend that was doing summer school there or something
Yeah.
at UCLA. Okay.
Yeah.
What were our most random places we stayed
right.
as far as people who hosted us?
Well, I think there was Lost Creek Ranch, right? I mean, that was like I was in my journal, Brian. It was like your
That-
grandmother's cousin's goddaughter's sister
Exactly.
had a
I had
house
to
at
look
Lost
it
Creek
up.
Ranch.
It's my grandmother's goddaughter's sister, and they own the Lost Creek Ranch in by Grand Teton National Park. It was in Wyoming somewhere, and they hosted us and let us stay in like the main cabin, and they had a hot tub and all this stuff. And it was like a dude ranch too, so they had their paying customers, and then they had us. That was pretty wild.
And we whitewatered the snake the next day.
We did,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they invited us to the ranch, like the ranch party, what they had for the guests. We went to that for
Yep.
dinner, I believe.
So what was the most Americana? Like if you think, I mean, you guys saw Graceland, did you guys go Mount Rushmore,
Mount
like-
Rushmore. Billy the Kid's
Sure.
grave.
Billy the Kid's grave? You guys Vegas on the way home?
Vegas. I won a
Clef
couple
was a
hundred
big
bucks
winner.
in Vegas.
Yeah,
Clef
Clef
was
was
the
a big
big
winner
winner.
there. Well, so off the
Fourth
top
of
of your head,
July
what was-
fireworks in San Diego with Brad, where we thought they were starting to figure out we weren't all betas, was like super fun. It was like wasn't there like a bonfire on the beach, kind of like Karate
No,
Kid?
we were walking down this street and there was like fires in
It
the
was like a
street.
mob.
It was
Yeah.
bottle rockets and it was crazy.
I
town.
love that Phil Kyle. First off, I trust Phil Kyle's memory more than Ty. Ty has like this romantic Karate Kid, and then Eric and I wrestled this guy, and it was big. No, Phil Kyle's like, no, it was urban unrest, and that is probably more.
Exactly.
Brad, yeah,
Yeah.
it was like getting in fights. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my journal indicated, is that it was like urban unrest. Exactly.
And then, Phil, you were the one that brought the bike, and then it got like dismantled.
Yeah, our bike. Well, actually, Ty, Eric, and I all
Everybody
brought our
did, right?
bikes. I did read in my journal that Eric and I rode them in Arkansas. So we did actually ride them once.
once,
Um,
but we lugged them all
Before
around.
they got
But then
stolen.
they got stolen in San Diego. But mine was not on a rack, or on the bike rack, and mine was like to the roof of the Bear.
Yeah.
So mine didn't get, my front tire got stolen, but the rest of my bike was there. But I think Ty, you and Eric's bikes were.
Yeah,
Like
our bikes were
gone.
stolen. Yep.
So Eric
Yep.
didn't bring his unicycle.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about the unicycle. He could just put it in the back seat, right? I mean, you
It's-
didn't need a bike rack for the
Perfect.
unicycle.
You're talking about like I don't know, Americana, but Missoula, Montana. Like we somehow, I don't remember how, like it worked out. We were heading to Montana, and John and Craig were also heading to Montana. They were doing the same, where they were doing cross country, but they'd gone north first. And we met up in Missoula at one of John's buddies.
Jack Benedict. Jack
Yeah,
Benedict.
we're
went
slept
out
up
in
in his front
Missoula.
lawn.
We slept in his front yard in our sleeping bags.
And that's John McIntyre and Craig Whiteford, Phil McIntyre's brother.
And then we had the next night we hiked into Glacier, which I think was my favorite park, and we
Yeah.
went deep, maybe our
Yeah.
deepest hike into the backwoods, where we were like making noise the whole time because there was no bear spray. So like Roddy and his friends have bear spray on their trip. We just had the survival night, and we would sing going through the woods, and then we got to this epic lake where there were so many trout. But the first trout took the only good lure I had. So we finally got a big trout, and we cooked it up and ate it. And then something epic happened once it got dark, like incredibly epic, is we're looking in the sky and we see what we weren't sure was a nuclear bomb or these green lights like flashing across. And we're like, what is that? We had no idea what it was. And then we figured out, I don't know who said it first. They were like, maybe that's the Northern Lights. So now you have these people who travel to see the Northern Lights and go, like Brian went on a trip recently to see the Northern Lights. We saw them without expecting to see
I
them
had
and
already
not
seen
knowing
them.
what it was. We had to like figure out what it was.
We thought it was the Big Bear malt liquor we were drinking at
Yeah.
first.
Right. The
Yeah.
Cobra
The
40s.
Cobra, that's
That
right. The
that could have
Cobra
done it.
40s.
And then
Yeah.
Red and I had a very scary
Sassy.
night that night because Red, when he gutted the fish, maybe he wasn't quite far enough from the campsite.
Well, his hands still smelled. So, no, yeah, you went away, I think, but I remember his hands smelled like
Smell the
fish.
glove.
So we're going to bed, and two people have been mauled by a bear in
By
the
a
park
black
like 2
bear the day
days,
before.
a
Yeah.
day, yeah. So the bear
That-
senses were pretty high.
So I'm guessing the big thing we learned about everybody is McIntyre's poor hygiene. That's the theme that I'm really getting from all this.
Can
I
we
don't
look
like it.
at can we
I don't
look at
like it,
Brian's
Phil.
map? Because I want to know how close we were to the Canadian border. Can Brian bring up his map?
We were right
were-
up there. We were
Good.
right up there. Yeah. Let's
Brian
see.
did a little bit of
I-
prep work here
I
for you,
got a
Matt.
little.
While he, did you guys remember the names of your donkeys when we
Shoot.
rode down the Grand Canyon?
Number
Marcy.
7.
What was yours, Phil McIntyre?
Marcy, I think, right?
Phil, Kyle,
I was number 7.
number 7. And Ty's was Speed Racer. What?
I don't remember the name of mine. That's one I wish I would have
I've
looked up
got
in
it in
my
my journal, Ty.
Okay, what was my
Well, I
donkey's
got to
name?
find it. Eric's was like Doogie.
Do you remember the women?
Interesting.
What were the two
Two birds.
birds?
Two birds
Two
and
birds with
Debbie.
one
Two
stone,
birds
huh?
and Debbie. Yeah.
What? And I'm sorry. Elaborate, please.
They were ladies who were
we have
looking
to
out at
find
the
these
Grand
people.
Canyon.
We have
Okay.
to find Brad. We have to.
The one thing about the people was that they're all super nice. The one thing about the rivers is that you grow up hearing about these epic rivers, but like the Rio Grande was you could throw a baseball across the Rio Grande, and the Mississippi was more narrow than the Severn where the bridge went across. And like you think these rivers were going to be giant, and there were so many rivers that had really cool names like Klepper Canyon River, and it would have no water in. Like they were just empty rivers. I think Eric actually asked the ranger at Yosemite why they named things that had no water in them.
Back to Eric, he and a college friend, they did it again, right? And they drove through Alaska.
They went through Alaska.
Yeah.
He and Woody and a couple other guys went through Alaska.
Yeah. So, and I remember him telling me repeatedly he liked it a lot better than his first trip. It was just better all the way around, better company, less smells, and things like that. Interesting. So, what did you learn about America on that trip? Did you learn anything about America? I don't know if you need to check your journals, check your memory, but did you learn anything about America at that time?
The big takeaway for me was the diversity from state to state. It wasn't like
Okay.
east to southeast to Midwest to the Pacific Northwest to the the Mexican border. When you would go from state to state, literally sometimes it'd be a light switch on the topography from deciduous to like brown desert to massive scale canyons to caves. So if you combine that with, the diversity of the people, the food, you realize, on balance, we're a very diverse country and land. And, you have to actually go see it to truly understand it and appreciate it. That was my takeaway.
Kleppy?
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, I would just say I made a list of sort of, obviously I've documented, I have this map and all, but we went to Carlbat's Cavern, Petrified Forest, Painted Desert, Grand Canyon, Zion, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Yosemite, Glacier National Park, Yellowstone, Grand Tetons, Badlands, and Rocky Mountain National Park. Those are just the national parks we hit. And that was awesome. I mean, I'm sure I didn't appreciate it at the time as I do now, having been back to a few of them with my family or, just matured, but it's like, this is incredible. Um, the foresight to have preserved a lot of these places, but then the amount of, just the amount of stuff that's out there, you just wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. It's a big country. There's a lot to see. Get out and check it out while it's still around.
Phil
I would
Kyle,
also add
that
the Mount Rushmore visit was you kind of like have an idea of what all these places are from books or history or your schooling, but until you go there and you kind of size it up, the hype around Mount Rushmore, it's so much better in person than you can even possibly understand.
We also got to see it at sunrise,
oh wow.
which was
Yeah,
pretty because we
Con-
slept on the
that
side
was
of the
cool
road. We slept
because
on
we
the
slept
side
on
of
the
the
highway.
road, so we woke up at 5 in the morning.
yeah.
And
Phil Kyle, what was your
Looked up, it was
takeaway
like,
about
oh, it's right
America
there.
after that?
yeah, hey, look. Well, because we got there the night before, and we're like, "Where is it?" I remember. I'll get sorry, Matt. But
No, no.
I remember thinking, we thought there was going to be lights on it, and we got there 1 in the morning. We're like, it's closed, and we talked to a
Right.
ranger. Maybe that
Taxstones.
was just me thinking there are going to be lights on it, but no, I think Matt, for me, I mean, very similar to what Phil and Bryce said. Like, I didn't realize how like big and vast the country is, and how beautiful like all these different parts are, from like New Mexico and Arizona. Like you talk about, I mean, Phil, you're kind of talking about this, but like part of Arizona, you're in like the desert and these like red canyons, and then you're in like Flagstaff and it's pine trees and green, and it's just amazing. And I mean, just all the different uh beautiful country. I mean, it's an amazing country that has so much to offer. And I had no idea before that. I like, if you'd asked me before the trip, any of that kind of, I would have been like, oh, we're just going to camp and have fun, and then just saw all this incredible land and people. It was really amazing.
Tagger?
I think two things. One thing was traveling unplanned. You saw stuff that you weren't expecting. Like we saw a lightning storm going through like the cornfields of Nebraska, like these rolling
Yeah.
hills. That might have been the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my whole life. But like you can't plan that. Like it was just pure luck because we were on the road. And like I said, we went on a trip through like a sequoia forest. We did a lot through trails through sequoia stuff, and those trees are so big and amazing. But we basically left this like gas station where in the morning, and we stopped at another gas station a couple hours later, and we were like, oh my gosh, it's the same gas station. Like Phil was our navigator, and like
We
we
were
didn't
running
care.
out of gas. We
Yeah,
were
we were
running out
running
of
out of gas,
gas.
but we didn't care because it was such a cool, epic forest to drive through, and it was just cool to not go not have a destination every day.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was the people were so nice, but the people who we knew who lived somewhere else, like you, like Chuck, Eric's roommate Gainer, Ann's family, like they were so great having us because they wanted to they loved where they were, but so they were also warm to have us, but also we were a touch of home for some of those people who were living across the country, like Jared Dawson. He's out in Yellowstone, working at Yellowstone for the entire summer. I think he'd done it the summer before. He was an amazing host because he was just so excited to see a touch of home. And we had a great time in Yellowstone and hanging out with his friends, that night at a bar, a town over, that kind of thing.
So you recommend it, right? What's your message to those guys that are out there?
My
the road
message
warriors
would
right now.
be don't rush and really try to hit all the national parks. Don't be like, oh, Glacier, what is that even? Like if you maybe growing up you'd be like, I got to go to Yellowstone, but like Yellowstone's great, but like hit Glacier, hit Yosemite. Will Klepper was out at Yosemite, Matt, when you and I interviewed. Remember,
Right.
he was in a cabin in Yosemite. You got to see Yosemite.
Right.
And I would have, in hindsight, I wish we would have gone up towards Seattle and seen like not gone through the town, but actually seen the stuff in the very northwestern. And there's so many incredible canyons in Utah. I guess we went to Bryce and had that really
Went
cool
to
like walk up the
Zion's.
river.
Yeah, we skipped we skipped a lot and looking at a map. I don't know that we knew, as you said, we didn't really have a plan.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we did have to get back to go to college, and
at some point,
I had to get back to live my life. I was already done
right,
college,
right.
and I thought it was cool the events we went to, the Rangers games, the Jimmy Buffett concert,
The Jimmy Buffett
Rodeos and
concert was cool. The
rodeos, the Mesquite
rodeo.
Rodeo. Yeah,
And
the Pizza Hut.
we should also mention we were kind of operating this all in a budget. So, in many respects, what you learn is the simplicity. You really don't need much in life when you strip your creature comforts of home down and you're on the road. The simple pleasures of eating, a piece of buttered bread or a heated can of soup, and the degree with which it unlocks a heightened sense of appreciation for that stuff when you take yourself out of context. So a hot meal, a shower, a warm bed, air conditioning, the kind of things that we take for granted day to day, in our modern life. You really kind of learn that you don't really need much, but when you do have it, you should be grateful for it and appreciate it. And I think, back to the whole idea of country in America, sequoia trees, you look at how huge they are and try to kind of imagine them as a seedling and look at them today and look at the many people that are looking at them tomorrow that looked at them generations ago. You see the postcard of an old truck or wagon going through the same cutout of the tree that the bear went through. I mean, so there's timelessness. Then you look at the Grand Canyon and you see the degrees of sediment with the geology, and you just realize how infinitely small, right, we are in the greater landscape. You know, not having Eric with us today and having Eric with us then, it reminds us even to now how precious, these moments are and how important taking the time to do this. And you do need like 2 consecutive months. You can't do this in just 2 or 3 weeks or, one. It's good to have some extended time to travel in a group like this, where it was the five of us, but we would call in on Chuck and we would call in on you, Matt, and we would have many different peoples in that dotted line on the map. That kind of, I think, at the end of the day, it's all about these moments that we document in journals. We have them on film in a road trip piece of cinema, and we countlessly refer back to them over and over, and we'll continue to do that. And it's invaluable, priceless.
Well said. Well said, Red.
Yep.
And he also mentioned they're doing it cheap, which I think was good because, like, those times eating over the campfire, even when we almost burned down Flagstaff, those were the best meals. If we had been stopping and eating out all the time, and also the nights of the campfire where maybe we stopped and got like 1 20-ounce beer or something, but like we weren't in bars every night, we weren't in restaurants every night. Those things you can do anywhere. Like, so these great moments happened, and who knows what we talked about? We probably talked about sports, girls, and
I
what's in
gotta
the
guess.
fridge.
Okay.
But
Russ,
but it was just, those were the moments that were great, and we each had our duties. I remember, like, we said, like, Red was pretty much always the fire guy, and some of us were the tents guy, and some of us were the collect the wood guy. Like, we never stopped and bought firewood. We just went into the woods and collected woods to make our fires.
when we should like when we talk about like we ate. I mean, it was like peanut butter and jelly on saltines, chunky soup,
Chunky soup,
and
maybe a
that
hot
was
dog over the
yeah, and a
fire.
hot dog. That was pretty much the standard lunch and dinner meals, and then I don't
And the
remember breakfast much.
absurdity of when we would splurge and we would like go to Pizza Hut and we would literally thought we were in like King Solomon's tomb of like Mecca, and we were like, what is happening? Pizza, and it's fun stuff, just absurdity of life.
And we had a meal where was our meal in Oregon, Clep? Do you remember our meal in Oregon? It was
At
Terry's.
that
was
lady's
Terry's
house. That was another random
roommate's
stop.
cousin
At
something.
Terry's med school roommate's mom had us there for lunch
And she
while
made little
Red got
sandwiches
his car
for us.
fixed. I think she thought I was Terry. I don't know. She kept talking about her son who I didn't even know. And yeah,
But
that
was
was
that the
awkward, but
longest
she
period?
was lovely.
Those 8 weeks, was that the longest period you went without Ruffles in your diet?
I'm sure we probably got some chips at some point,
All
Matt,
right.
but yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, to the point of noting in my journal, like we got to LA and we went to Johnny Rockets one day, and it was like big news that we were eating like a prepared meal and not a, whatever fast food and not a something over the campfire.
Matt, since we are a wellness podcast, we need to discuss our workout plan while we were out there.
Hey, dude, do it. Get your own podcast, okay? God,
A lot of
this couldn't-
hiking,
yeah. So
using
hey,
12 packs, like weights.
right.
yeah,
That was Phil. That was Phil
Yeah.
Mack's
yeah.
weight training
The
regimen.
12-ounce curls.
Right.
I feel like Eric was pretty dedicated to getting
Yes.
push-ups and sit-ups in.
Always.
I feel
Go for
like,
runs.
Yep.
and he would go for runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I remember running one trail with him, and that's where my memory's kind of vague. I don't remember if we did it all the time or we just did it every once in a while.
I guarantee you, Eric did it all the time.
Yeah.
I think we did it pretty regularly.
Matt, can we give credit where credit's due, though? And can Phil tell us a little bit about Operation Rolling Thunder, the movie? And
Hey, Ty, can you shut up and let me run this goddamn thing? Jesus Christ. I knew you couldn't do it. I mean, I knew you went a lot longer than I did, but hey, I got it.
So, Matt, you should also ask about the relationships
dude,
out
you're
there.
now
If
silent.
you
You're
notice,
muted.
this is why you wouldn't have handled the trip. The other guys are all extremely laid back, and he takes that to another level. They could all put up with me for 8 weeks with only one night of like, shut the hell up, Ty. And then Eric had to talk me down.
This is episode 80.
We haven't covered.
This is way more than 8 weeks in a car stuck with you.
Ty and I had also a ritual where we would read each other bedtime stories. Ty and I were tent mates, and Eric, Brian, and Phil were in another tent. Did you guys have a sleeping order? Was it like Eric was always in the middle? Brian, were you in the middle? Was there any concert, or was it random every time?
Phil, I don't remember.
I
Phil,
feel
Kyle,
like we maybe
any-
rotated because when you were not in the middle, you had like the tent coming right across your face. So I feel like we maybe rotated, but
Right.
Red, why were the
But-
bear
but-
stories always you and me? Why was our tent the one that was always near the bears? Because we had the bears that were by that dumpster in California. We had
Wasn't there-
bears that kept us up all night, like 2 or 3 times, and 2 of them were more like state parks where they were actually in dumpsters, and then the one was glaciers. We were definitely closer to the bear at Glacier, but Red and I had 2 or 3 nights where we did not sleep a wink, and we were like, crawl into a ball. What do we do? Where's the knife? Like, and Red was like, calm down, Ty, you'll be okay. Hold me, Red.
Red was the voice of reason.
Oh,
Ty's like,
man,
Ty's-
you were such a good cuddler, Ty.
So the sleeping situation was the same, but we would rotate cars and drivers, so you weren't totally sick of everybody all the time. Because
you said no social media, but how can people see such a, is there any document, any like film of this trip, of this epic journey anywhere?
So we had a video camera with us, and we
A
would
film crew?
shooting across everybody. And how many hours of footage do you think we had when we got back? I mean,
It must have
10
been,
hours,
I mean,
I think it was
8
5.5
like
hours.
5 or 6 hours.
And Jeffrey
So-
Johnson and Katie Smith have watched it all like 5 times.
the raw footage.
The raw footage.
Oh my Lord!
McIntyre, one of his jobs was he was
Yeah.
the videographer of
So
this.
I went into my journal and I found. I'll have to distribute this later. This was a kind of I have a piece of paper here that was the edit list for me going through all the raw footage that I guess it would have been junior year at Denison, where I would go and I'd have to kind of, what's the takeaway from this clip? What's the moment from this clip, both visually and then like the quotes that I would try to pull out, funny
Right.
stuff that we would say. So, and you literally could miss in a fleeting moment something like really golden. crazy, like a lot of time taking notes. And then after that, I kind of stood back from it and then tried to do groupings of, state signs or pull out themes or commonality or sports or, and try to get an arc of a narrative. So it's really fun. I'll send this to you guys, but the
But
film,
how many hours did you have of?
it must have been,
The raw stuff there's 6 hours on
I was going to say
discs that
6
we have.
is the
Right.
number.
Yeah.
And the
And
end product,
is
guys,
there
Weren't you
any
doing
place
it for a
that the
class?
public?
Didn't you get a credit, like a college
No,
credit
no,
or
no,
something
no.
for grinding this thing
No.
out? I thought
You
you
got a
did.
No,
SAG
I
award.
was a
I think it was
cinema
a
major,
SAG
so I had
award.
access to all the tools and
Okay.
equipment. I would just have to kind of
Just a labor of
find
love.
it out in free time, and the final product was what, 20 minutes or a half an hour the piece.
Yeah.
Longer than a half
Is that
hour,
on
yeah.
YouTube right now, Red?
It's on
yeah.
House Calls, the podcast YouTube channel, and we have the version without commercials, which is cool. Red dropped. I guess the
should
sponsors
get
are the
an
sponsors.
audit here.
Are we still getting residuals, Red?
Resid. Oh, there's resid everywhere.
Okay.
So, yeah, the film was, and what held it all together was were you the author of Preppy Redneck, Brian? Was that your mix?
No, that
No,
was
that
Eric.
mixtape, that Eric made that
So
mixtape.
Eric's mixtape was sort of the narrative where we pulled out key songs and tried to kind of like play a game of solitaire, like the clip you recently referenced with Springsteen, "This Land Is Your Land," was such a good anthem to showcase all of those national parks we just mentioned, and Mount Rushmore at sunrise. And when you hear all the different renditions of that song, I think Springsteen's remains the iconic one for me. And whenever I hear it, I'm sure you do the same, you're literally playing the
Thinking of the trip.
clip in your mind of what was in the
Interesting.
film.
When I hear Van Halen's,
Van Halen.
yeah, that's the one that
Right
gets
now.
me. Yeah, yeah, because that's like the opening part of that. But we will put a link to that in. Obviously, we miss Eric, and it's always fun to go down memory lane about these great times. Any last words about this trip that you guys want to get in there?
Weren't we going to bury a bottle of tequila somewhere?
We were so we
We
did
didn't cover Avalon.
we
Or
do
your-
need
or
we
your
do need to
visit, Matt.
tell the Chuck Avalon story, but Phil and I were on a hike in in Anne Arundel County, and we were talking about when we retire, like doing like a long weekend or a week and like going out to our favorite spot. And I think, Phil, were we saying like wouldn't it be epic to go to Glacier again?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we could ever find the same lake, but like just
I think we could.
yeah, and we would invite Matt and Chuck, and just
We're busy.
and like do a maybe a 40th reunion or a 50th reunion, however healthy we are, but like be like, oh, let's go to one of these spots again where we loved it.
Yeah.
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
Let's plan it.
I love it. Well, I think this is great. I think it's a great message for everyone to get out there and see the country, right? Be a tourist in your own country. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's the takeaway that I've always gotten from this. And obviously, a very close friendship, a bond that grew even closer because of this trip. And it's been fun to sit back and watch and live vicariously through you guys and do that. But glad you guys made it back alive. Glad everyone's still friends. And let's circle back in a couple of years and try to do it again.
Those memories, Ty, are forever seared in my brain with the, oh man, and the guys sleeping next door didn't even, like, they were out and we were just partying. Listen,
Oh my God.
Could you
So-
imagine, Matt? Seriously, me and Red can both do some talking, so it's probably true. Like it was probably dark, and Brian, Phil, and Eric were probably asleep, and me and Red were like, "Do you remember the time Wild Bill Hagee threw the water cooler?"
joking,
And Red was like,
carried on.
"I love Kiko Garcia."
I love it, fellas. You guys were awesome.
Great
That was
job,
great.
Matt.
Thanks
Well
for sharing that
done.
with us all.
Thank you,
that was
Matt.
fun.
Thanks for hosting.
Very,
Thanks
very
for having
fun.
us